One wants to feel fairly useful in one's life, to go through life without helping or doing things for others or even for oneself. What's the point, right? And there was a lot to be done here in Paraguay since the 1970s. I just wanted to get ahead and do as much as I could in as little time as possible for the art scene here.
In this episode of Latitude 25, we are going to learn a little bit about the world of art here in Paraguay from a foreigner's perspective. We're going to meet a woman who's been living here about 50 years, been very involved in the art world, been involved as an environmental activist, has done documentaries, as an author, and she's going to show us a museum she established around 10 years ago. And with that, we're going to use the Huawei P40 to help us get some more shots. It has a great lens for both video and photo. So that's the idea. Go learn a little bit about art and speak a little English and enjoy Paraguay like always. We're here in Paraguay. We have arrived at the Centro Cultural del Lago, a little museum which was established by Ysanne Gayet. And we're gonna go inside, have a little chat with her, learn a little about her life here in Paraguay and the art that she's been doing for decades here, both her and with the people from Paraguay. So let's go check it out. Ysanne, how are you?
Fine, thank
nice
you.
to see you. I would give you a handshake, but you know,
yes.
We're in pandemic times.
Exactly,
so, yeah.
exactly. Well, welcome to the Centro Cultural del Lago, Arte.
Thank you very much. Tell me a little bit about your history. You came here in what, 1970?
That's right, yes.
Been quite some time now.
Yes, I came here in 1970 and I got involved in art almost immediately.
Yeah.
But basically, my studies are floristry and floriculture. And when I came here in the 1970s, there was practically no art gallery for the artists. And it seemed like something that had to be done. So that's why I started opening up different art galleries. At the same year that I opened my first gallery was in the 1970s. And then the artists, basically, they were exhibiting in shops like Martel on Calle Palma. And I just saw the need for it. And also, I thought that the popular art of Paraguay was very, very important. And I thought that it should have a good space to be exhibited in so that people could know more about it and the artisans and what have you. It was just something that I thought should be done.
You're really adamant about bringing different parts of the country together in this museum, like having art and different styles of art from all over the country.
So the idea of this is, as we get a lot of schools here, it's sort of to teach the children about the 3 towns in Paraguay that make ceramics. And we started off with this photograph of an indigenous Guarani urn, right, here. We put this piece underneath it, which is from Tobati, so that you can see the similitude of following the tradition, right? And then we put a typical water urn here next door to that.
Okay.
And then we followed on about the evolution of the ceramics here in Paraguay, from a utilitarian object to an artistic object.
Now, what is Tobati? What kind of particularities do they have in their ceramics, their art, that makes them different from, say, Paraguay or?
I think it's everything is handmade. It's not made by the potter's wheel or with a mold. Everything is absolutely handmade. And the difference also in Tobati, the men, generally speaking, do not make ceramics, whereas in Ita, Celso Benitez and all his brothers do make ceramics. You notice that his things are much more finished, so to speak. It has a better finish than most people.
You also have a big focus on the environment, right? I mean, that's something
right.
throughout your time you were focused on and tried to better and
That's right.
And through your initiatives and art, you've been able to accomplish a lot. I mean, what drove you to take that step?
Well, I think as an artist, one is fairly sensitive towards social problems, and basically not only the environmental problem, which is huge right now, but I also worked on the problems to do with women's rights as well. And one gets involved in all these things because of a certain sensitivity. I think basically anyone who's got any interest in the environment, it's basically all around the world the same problem. Deforestation, climate change, water. And yes, it is an issue and a problem, and it's going to take a long time to get through to the people, but we are working in the schools. We do art competitions about the streams and the woods, and we're probably going to get onto something else once we get through this pandemic.
Can we see a little bit of your art? I think there was some over here.
Well, basically what you could see is some of my books. This, for example, was a trip I did to the Pantanal with Lucy Yegros, who's another artist friend of mine. And so this, for example, is a painting of mine here. This one is another painting here of the Pantanal. And we visited several communities, indigenous communities. This is the boat we traveled on, which is the Carlos Antonio Lopez, which no longer exists, unfortunately.
Oh, wow. Wow.
This is a painting of Ogwa. He's one of the most famous indigenous artists. Another of the traveler's diary that I wrote was after a trip that we did with the Ayoreos for 12 days, and we went from the center of the Chaco all the way up to Chovoreca, which is their ancestral territory.
That is an experience that not many people get to have in their lives. I mean, I imagine you have had a multitude of those very cultural, very unique experiences during your time in Paraguay.
That's right, but I suppose this was the most memorable one because it lasted for so long. Afterwards I painted several paintings of the trip and what have you. I've got several paintings that I've done of the Ayoreos. It had to be done. My contact with the artisans, also from a humane point of view, made me want to create a space for them as well. I believe that wherever one is on this planet, one has to make the most and do the best that one can, not only for oneself, but for everyone else around you. So that is basically it. Now, if I'd been in Bolivia, if I'd been in Peru, if I'd been in Africa, it would have been the same thing.